Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to a bid video. Wow. This is not a bid video. It's another video. Another request. Thanks to AP. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, commentaries, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And you know what? I'm going to keep that mistake in because I'm only human. Just like this movie is only human. And there's some humans that are good, and there's some humans that suck ass. And in my opinion, this movie sucks ass. Now, before people get mad and angry, yes, I understand the movie. The director himself would agree with me. Because Michael Haneke, who directed Funny Games from 1997, which got a remake about 10 years afterward, with more of an American cast. It was like shot-for-shot remake. While this was in, I want to say, Austria. The director himself said if the film did his job right, the audience would not like it. The audience felt it was boring because it was boring. His words were, if you watched it all the way, you need to be tortured that long. If you didn't, then you didn't need the film. That's literally what the director says about this film in interviews. Because it's about the desensitization that audiences had with violence. And he's upset about that. So I'm going to make a movie that's a big lecture to the audience. How dare you, viewer? How dare you be so desensitized to violence that you actually want it? And then when you don't get it, you're just saying that it's boring, and you're saying that it sucks, and you're saying that it's terrible. I don't need a lecture professor. I could do that on my own. And maybe that's the thing. You know, he says anyone who stops watching before the end doesn't need the film. And then those who finish it do. Maybe that's the problem. I don't need you. Maybe that's the issue. And again, for people who say you can't hate the film, the director himself is pretty much telling you, and in fact in interviews has literally told you, that you're supposed to hate the film. That you're supposed to not like the film. That you're supposed to dislike the film. I bet the director would be mad if you liked the film. That's what this guy seems like. Because the plot of the film, it's a couple and their son going to this peaceful retreat. And the director's trying to play off the cliches of a film like this. Like the family's driving, you have peaceful music, but when the titles come up, you have this death metal. Which to me was just shitty music. But that's the point, is that, it make my earbuds cry. You know what it sounds like when the doves cry? That music's when the earbuds cry. And when they get there, this clean-cut couple of guys, two guys, dressed in white, maybe from a upper echelon, maybe from a rich class, maybe prim, proper guys whose daddies got them through college, who knows? Maybe two rich boys. You don't really know their background. That's, again, one of the points of the film. They asked to borrow eggs. They get invited in. The characters, our family, act supremely stupid. And I can understand that when bad things happen, we're not all going to think logically. And even when it's not that, there's a lot of stupid people in the world doing really stupid things. But as I'm watching the film, the characters are so thin, I really don't have that much of an emotion to what's going on and what's happening. And again, the director says that if you shut it off before the end of the film, you didn't need the movie. The only reason I finished it was because this was a paid request. That was the only reason. So again, for people that get mad, this is what the director wanted. In a way, it's like he wanted the movie that was critic-proof. Well, yes, it's boring because the shots are so static and very little seems to be happening. But that's the point. Because we have gotten so used to violence in media, violence in movies, that we become so desensitized to it that we crave it and we yearn for it when we watch a Sylvester Stallone movie or a Schwarzenegger movie or a Jason Voorhees movie. So to have a movie where you get that taken away from you because you should not be desensitized, you should be shocked. But I wasn't shocked either. Because you know what? I've seen that done better in whether Videodrome or A History of Violence, when David Cronenberg tackles that subject about violence in media or violence in human nature, or even if a film doesn't exactly tackle that, harsh movies like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. That's a film that I don't cheer for violence. That's horrific, but that also has a very palpable performance by Michael Rooker, a very creepy musical score, a gut-punching ending. And that to me was a much less boring, more interesting. What this director wants to do, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer does that. But it doesn't feel like a lecture. It doesn't feel like a professor trying to wag his finger in front of you and talk down to you. Because the director has this air of pretentious, I'm better than you, I understand more than you thing to him. Air about him. So as the movie goes along, it's like it has to be made to be boring. It has to make you feel guilty for watching the film. It's a criticism on audiences who watch these type of violent films. And again, from the director's perspective, I'm not the guy that needed this film. When I watch films, I watch them for, yes, escapism, but because also it's either, if you're horrified with the human condition, again, a film like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer does that much more validity and much more of a gut punch and much more where I get what the movie's going for, and to me, I think it achieves it wonderfully. But it's not a type of film I watch a lot. It's not a type of film I watch over and over again. The type of films I watch are escapism, catharsis of good versus evil, when I see good fight and overcome evil. That's why I'm the guy that usually likes happy endings in movies, because I look at movies as escapism. Because you watch the media, you watch any news, whether it's news on pick your poison for the outlet or for even on YouTube. There's enough of that in the world that I'm not desensitized to it. I'm just, or maybe part of me wants to be desensitized to it, so you're not scared to death and ready to have a heart attack every goddamn day. Because you know what? Sadly, with the human condition, we're always going to be violent beings, and in a way, sadly, we need violence. What do I mean by that? We need violence. And so let me just repeat it. What do I mean by that? Let me just repeat the same thing I just said. Violence is how we eat. Violence is how we survive. Because there's always going to be a section of the population. Even, you look at films and TV shows like the old days of Star Trek, where we've overcome various sins of the human condition. There's still a lot of violence out there from an outside force, and so they have their phasers, their photon torpedoes, Captain Kirk fist fighting and being thrown about. Because even in an ideal future like that, there will always be violence, and you will always have to engage and utilize violence. Because, again, how do we eat? A violent act. You kill an animal. Or you kill a plant. Or you kill something that is alive. You think plants are alive? Vegetarians? Well, you're killing a plant. So if you're so mad that you're killing something, you're killing a plant. And a plant, technically, is considered a living thing. It grows, it does this and that. Same with, gives us oxygen. Same with animals. Whatever it is, you pick a plant, you kill an animal, that's a violent act. And also to survive and to protect. Because you can go sing Kumbaya all you want. Someone's going to come at you with an axe to the face, or a shotgun up your ass, or a grenade in your pants. Fuck the bonus. The problem is we need a balance. That's the issue. It's the balance. You're violent, but because you hunt for food, and you hunt for what you need for food. Violence, you do it to protect, but not to murder. It's a balance. And when you watch movies, says the human nature, in my opinion, has a violent tendency that's been bred into our DNA. A lot of times we watch these movies because of a catharsis or escapism from our tepid lives, or of insanity, or from confusion of our culture's stupidity, which is getting a lot dumber as years come and go. So you know what, director? You want to be a lecture about you, how dare you, be desensitized. Where if the director wants me to hate the film, well, I guess I'll oblige and do what he asks, viewer. And people are like, well, why haven't you talked much about the film? Because when you look at the actual plot, there isn't much to talk about the film. Like I said, two people, you have a couple and a son, they let the two people in because they want eggs. Sooner than later, they overtake the three, they hit the dad and the lady with a golf club, break his leg, they've killed the dog, and pretty much throughout the film, it's a home invasion movie, where at times they break the fourth wall and talk to the camera, they break the fourth wall and go, "You're on their side, aren't you?" They talk about running time of movies. No, we can't do that yet. The running time of the movie isn't. We're not the running time yet. Or we're not the running time of a feature-length film. And they make the mother say horrible things about herself. They put a bag on the little kid's head. And it's just, there's a point where one of them takes the mom to this boat where there's like 3-4 people on there. And at this point, the bad guys don't have a gun. They don't. One of them just has a golf club. So, again, why the mom didn't just tackle the guy's legs? Because the guy's a pretty scrawny guy. It's not like it's... if it was the guy the shape of and size of Kane Hodder, I can understand. But this is a scrawny guy. Scrawnier than me. She could tackle him and go, him and his buddy got my husband and kid and broke my husband's leg. Please help. One person calls the cops. One person goes up there. They tackle the other scrawny guy. After they knock and tie up that guy. Boom, end of movie. But again, you're not supposed to think that. So they play these games, they make up reasons to why they're doing this, until ultimately they go, why not? When someone asks, why are you doing it? Why not? These very boring static shots, which are boring on purpose, because it's trying to make the audience, like, you want your violence, right, viewer? You're just waiting for the violence to happen. Either the violence onto the antagonist or the protagonist. You're just waiting for something to happen. Well, I'm not going to oblige you. And I'm like, well, again, I'm the wrong audience for this because I'm not even into home invasion films. I mean, if I'm into slasher films, it's because I'm either marveling a makeup effect, or I'm hoping and waiting for the eventual good versus evil battle at the end, or I'm enjoying other aspects, whether it be music, technical direction, acting, performers, things of that nature. Now, would I say the actors did a bad job in this film? No, but I don't. I felt empty, and not the empty the director wants. What I mean by that is, I just felt a lack of emotion because I don't care about the characters. I don't care about the story. I don't care about the antagonist. But I'm sure that's another thing for critical proof. You're supposed to feel. It's like anything you say, the director thinks, well, I got a reason for that. I'm like, there's no such thing as a movie that's critical proof. Sorry. Now, if you want to say that, you make it sound like it's one of the worst films ever, no. I mean, I've seen Feeders 2, Alien Beasts. I've seen Shark Exorcist. It wouldn't be in my top 100 worst films because, in a way, I don't want to give the director that obligation. And it's not like ineptitude. That's the thing. This is not a film that is inept in what it's doing. It's a movie that this is its purpose. Again, its purpose is wanting me to hate it. Its purpose is wanting me to be bored with it. Its purpose is wanting me. So, the director did succeed in what he was trying to do. The director did succeed in what he was going for. So, no, it's not a bad film in that instance. It's just one of those things that I think it was a lecture that didn't need to be told in the first place. If that makes sense. It's like, okay, you're giving me this lecture, and I think the lecture is naive and ignorant. And I'll be bold enough to say that. It's naive because desensitization of violence is not the movies, it's the news. I think it's more guilty of that. So why don't you go after that portion? That part of the plot. Make that part of your story. And I think desensitization is not always a bad word. What I mean by that is that horrible things happen every day and every week. But if you get a bit used to it, then you'll be a bit less of a victim, and maybe that desensitization can be utilized. Doesn't mean it's always utilized, but could possibly be utilized in a positive manner. Could be. So if you see that again, or you feel it again, or you think of it again, you won't just be someone that gets trampled on. If you had a person who maybe was desensitized to violence, or had a proponent to it, these characters would have lived. That's kind of the irony of it. If the mom and the dad and the son, if they were more used to violence, if they were more of an angry, or they're desensitized where this torture didn't affect them much. Which maybe that would be interesting, is that the torturers think that they're going to be so terrorizing this couple, but this couple, the typical American, well, it's not American, but the typical family unit, the typical family that park their cars in their garage, go to work 9 to 5, Dolly Parton style, they're the ones who are more crazy than the torturers. They're the ones that are more desensitized. They're the ones that are not as affected. And so the torturers are the ones that are much more into this, much more affected, much more scared, much more angry, or much more of this and that. They're much more willing and wanting to do this. And the couple is nonchalant. And they're nonchalant about their family, their kid getting hurt or getting beaten or whatever. And in a weird way, they overcome and fight the two villains who are surprised and shocked. And they go, how the hell did this happen? I don't know, steal a line from Bison, from Street Fighter. To you, this was the most important day in your life. But to me, it was only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday. There you go. If you want to make an effective statement, if that's what you're going for, I think that would be a much more interesting effect. That you want to say that people are desensitized to violence and they got into this state of affairs, that would be a hell way to do it. That this couple, even though they've been beaten, brutalized, and terrorized, they're not scared, they're not crying, they're not... They're more nonchalant than the attackers. They're more nonchalant than the torturers. They're more nonchalant than the bad guys, who have this air of facade of being so much holier than thou, and being cool under pressure, and talking to the camera. But it's all just a show-off. At the end of the day, just the common people, they just look at it and they go, it's just a Tuesday. Just another Tuesday. You're just another victim, kid. You're just another victim. That could be much more interesting. So at the end of the day, I'm just watching the film and I'm sitting there going, I get what you're going for. It's like, in a way, it's a lecture that either you think is ignorant or is naive, or it's a lecture you don't really need to attempt because you already get what's going on. It's like going to a lecture on mathematics, but the lecture is about what's 5 times 2 or 5 times 25. I'm like, yeah, you give me a pen and a paper, I could do that pretty quickly. 25 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Oh, it's 25 times 5 is 125. What's 5 times 5? 25. What's 4 times 5? 20. Like, I already know this. You lecture me on something I already know, and again, it goes back to what the director wants. Anyone who stops watching before the end didn't need the film. So to me, it just comes off as a movie for me, maybe not for you, maybe not for the people that give the 7.5 on IMDb, but for me, it comes off as a film that is just, for me, utterly pointless. It's utterly pointless. Just the themes and thoughts to me are very... They don't affect me in any way. They don't really make me learn anything, gather anything that I already didn't know. It doesn't really affect me in my own wheelhouse, so to speak. So instead, I either get really shitty death metal type of music at the beginning and the end. I mean, it's like any home invasion, like The Strangers. I didn't like The Strangers either. And it's people with the air of pretension, full of themselves, loving the smell of their own farts, looking at the camera, talking from time to time. You say this, you do this. At one point, the kid escapes, finds a gun. The gun's going to be empty. The bad guy knew it, so click, it's empty. Yes, people are not the smartest when it comes under pressure, but at the same time, because the movie has nothing else for you to think about, then you're just thinking, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Because what else are you going to think about in your brain when you're watching the film? Because it's not like there's a visual palette. It's not like there's anything interesting to look at on the screen. It's not like the cinematography is going to blow you away. It's not like you're going to be intrigued by the music. It's not like the performances, they're capable, but it's because of the thinly written characters, because of the villain that they give differing backgrounds, unreliable narrator. So you're sitting there going, I don't know anything about the couple, I don't know anything about the bad guys, I don't care. I have really no emotion to it. So while yes, this is a rant, and I think the film sucks, at the same time it's hard to even get angry about it because it felt like I just watched a blank wall. Or I just... So spoiler alert, what happens? The little kid gets killed. We don't see it, not that I wanted to see it anyway, so I'm fine with it. Oh, the killer walked away and made a sandwich. I'm like, cool, I don't want to see the kid get killed anyway. Now, if it's the Blob remake, fine, because I'm enjoying its story, its characters, and guess what? Bad things happen to good people, and you have to get used to that. And also, when you're watching a film, I think more often than not, people watching it for death scenes because they enjoy practical effects and they see the next magic trick. But again, I just have a different view of movies, like compared to a lot of people. If you watch my channel enough, you know I have a very different view of movies than a good chunk of the population. You're with them, aren't you? So after the kid gets killed, there's a bit where the lady gets the shotgun that's been loaded now, shoots one of the bad guys. The other bad guy gets a remote control, rewinds it. I have to say, no, viewer, you don't get off that easily. I'm not going to oblige you. I'm like, the problem is you think I give a fuck. But because you have such a lack of any type of emotion, connectivity to anybody and anything, I don't care if any of you live or die. That's the problem. I don't care. You've given me little reason to care. Because at the end of the day, I still know this is a movie. I still know this is fictitious. I still know these are just actors playing their song and dance for the screen. I still have that view of separation. I still know it's a fake, phony thing. And you made it so that I give so little shits about anything going on. Like, if you actually made me care about these people, and oh yeah, they got him. Oh no, they don't rewind it. No. Maybe that's the reaction you think someone's going to have. I guess a lot of people did have with the 7.5 IMDb. To me, I'm like, no, I don't care. With James Woods and Videodrome, I did care. And then you question, yeah, why were you watching those terrible things? And then it gave you this tumor when you should be now watching these things. You feel bad that James Woods has gone down this rabbit hole. Like the tumor's like the disease of the mind that's been affected when you watch so much of this junk. Family Videodrome actually gives me merit to think about those ideals, those thought processes. This just comes off as a boring, pretentious, smell no own farts film school project that hopefully you get the credit for your professor. But I don't give a fuck. So it rewinds the bad guy's alive, the other bad guy grabs a shotgun, kills the dad off screen. There's a bit earlier where the mom tries to run off, doesn't run through the woods, runs right in the middle of the fucking road, sees a car coming, just stands there, doesn't try to make a run for it. Yeah, I know a vehicle passed by, but fuck it. Just keep going and going and going. You'll find a vehicle, steal it, get the fuck out of Dodge. That would have fucked up their plans. But no. Because the characters have to act very, very stupid and make dumb decisions. They grab the girl on the boat, nonchalantly push her off. I'm like, okay, I don't care. I don't care. Henry Portrait, a serial killer, that's a gut punch. This, snooze-inducing affair. And maybe because I'm the type of guy that has seen a lot more ugly films, sadly, like a Serbian film and Mars, which I don't care for those films. I hate those films much more than this. So I guess maybe I am obliging him and giving him what he wants because, hey, I don't like the film. He didn't want me to like the film, but is it a 100 worst movie? No, because it's not like the actual technical is inept, like I said before. It's not like the acting is badly done. It's just, this is a lecture that I don't really ever care to attend again. And honestly, it's a lecture I'm sitting there going, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Now what? Oh, that's it? Okay. Alright. Okay, it's supposed to be boring. Yeah, I did. It's boring. Yeah, it's supposed to. Okay, yeah, I get it. Congrats, I guess. Congrats, I guess. So yeah, I don't give a fuck. It's a movie I'd never care to see again. And I think the director is a naive guy who that's like Siskel and Ebert lecturing people about slasher films or something. You just come off as a dickhead. I mean, Halloween's okay, but these others are so bad. Like, whatever. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.